Okay, you guys, I have a Crosman 1077 video for you, and I wanted to talk about this rifle here. I used a 4-power scope, just a cheap scope, nothing special. And if you use a higher magnification, sometimes it doesn't make a difference if you have limited accuracy with a rifle. So I wanted to show you what I did indoors at 15 yards in a controlled environment where the 1077 was pretty much almost locked down in a bench rest position, and trigger time was allowed 3 to 4 seconds in between each shot, and 50 shots were taken. So I wanted to show you a perfect example of how expensive pellets sometimes don't do any better. Sometimes you can save money by using cheaper pellets, and sometimes these cheaper pellets might do better than the expensive ones. And it's not to say that the expensive pellets are bad. It's just that every air rifle has its particular diet of pellets that it likes. But if you don't do a lot of shots, you're not going to have any idea how the pellet is going to perform. So I'm not a believer in just doing 3-shot groups or anything like that to test pellets. I'm a believer in at least a 10-shot group if you're going to be trying to settle on a pellet that you want to buy, that you want to use regularly. Regularly. I can't even say that word. You want a pellet that you can use all the time so that you can set your drop charts for your scope. And you want something that you can shoot out to, say, like 25 yards with something like this. And that's pretty much what this is for. This is for like plinking cans at 25 yards maximum range, about that maybe. So let me tell you about the pellets. And I'm going to go to the most expensive pellet here, which did the worst. And you can see the spread of all these 50 shots was about 3 inches. This was the 787 match grade air arms pellet. These are $14.99 for 500. Okay, and then the next one here, which I think probably did just a little bit better. Notice the price, $8.99 for 500. These are the Cole Phoenix pellets. They're 9.57 grain. These are really good in some air rifles as far as saving money on a medium weight round nose pellet. But once again, we got a 3-inch spread on both of these. I couldn't take the majority because it's all kind of all over the place within 3 inches at 15 yards. But however, look at this one here, 7.2 grain beeman hollow point. Now these pellets have been around for decades. They're very, very lightweight, kind of like a semi wad cutter hollow point pellet. It's like an all-purpose pellet. It's got everything, included on the pellet that you can think of. It's got the little point. It's got the hollow base. It's got the width for kind of like for like a wad cutter for punching holes in paper and stuff like that. Anyway, at 15 yards, 50 shots, we got 90% of them doing 1.5 inch, which means that if we double that 1.5 inch, that's about 3 inches at, say, like 30 yards. If we're doing 15 yards at 1.5, we can expect 3 inches of growth of this out at 30 yards, which isn't too bad for a smooth bore air gun. However, this has got a rifled barrel, I believe. But it's it's got a ring magazine and stuff, and usually a lot of these ring magazine plastic rifles have limited accuracy anyway. So we can expect at 25 yards, we can expect maybe 2.5 to 3 inches, which means that it could hit a pop can, because a pop can is about 2.5 inches wide and it's about 4 inches tall. So if you look here, you can tell if this is 1.5 inches here, that at least 25 yards, you would think you could hit the can probably 90% of the time also. So, which means that this would be a very good pellet, very inexpensive, and it will fly a lot faster. It'll have a flatter trajectory probably than these pellets. I personally think the 1077 doesn't like heavy pellets. Some of the best pellets that I've fired in this rifle are under 8 grains, and I think that you should keep it that way for this particular rifle. So, which means if you're going to buy this one, you know, pre-count your 50 shots. Buy the lightweight pellets like these beeman hollow points here. If you want to know where these pellets are, I don't have pictures of them. I don't have them here right now, but they're on pyramidair.com or Home Depot, or not Home Depot, but what am I talking about? Airgun Depot. Yeah, excuse me, I'm thinking about Home Depot. What am I talking about? Airgun Depot, yeah. So, you can find these on websites, airgun websites that sell pellets. So anyway, when you're going to sight in this thing now, what I would do at 15 yards, let's say you're sighting it in, you want to make some drop charts. What I would do is don't sight it in just for 5 shots. I would sight it in for a good cluster. Once you got your good cluster, then all you have to do is make sure that that cluster ends up evenly spaced around your crosshair. Now we know it can't be sighted in for a 1/2 inch because it's not that accurate, not even 1 inch. So I would sight it in for a 1.5 inch target or a 2 inch target, and make sure they're all pretty much evenly spaced around your crosshair. And then when you have 10 shots fired, you can adjust your turret and pull the shots so that they're evenly spaced around the crosshair, and then you're pretty much sighted in. And if you have a mil-dot reticle, then obviously you're going to have a little bit of drop when it gets out to 25 yards. It won't be too much, but it'll be somewhat of a drop. So you can go off that and have fun with this thing at 25, 30 yards, plinking cans. So this would be a great family air rifle. And as you can see, I got a cheap scope on there and one of these quick type mounts that can be taken out very quickly and thrown on another air rifle. The reason why I got it set up like this is because some air rifles have the tray right here. And I put it this way, and I found out that even though it looks strange and funny, it still works great. But you could set up this air rifle with a 4-power scope, shoot out to 25 yards with the family. Make sure, like I said, once again, make sure everything's sighted in. And then all you have to do is grab you a CO2 and pre-count enough shots to have like 4 ring magazines, which would be 48 shots, something like that. And simply all you have to do is when you run out of them 48 shots with that ring magazine, then take out the CO2, put in another one. If you want to push it past 50, that's fine. But if you do push it past 50, what's going to happen is you're going to start having shots down here that are going to fall a little lower. And if you're plinking cans, that'll be fine. But I'm just trying to give you guys some accuracy here too at the same time, some consistency, so the shots are all going the same spot. But anyway, that's how I would do it. I always pre-count my shots and CO2 and put them together. And you could have, well, let's see, you got a 12-round magazine, so if you got 3 people, each person can take 4 shots and see what they can do, and you can challenge each other. And you can't make excuses if you sighted it in. So if everything's sighted in properly, then it's a real challenge. And at 25 yards, especially if somebody's standing up, I don't know if you guys want to do the bench type thing, the lazy man shooting, but if you're all standing up and stuff and you hit a can at 25 yards, well, then give yourself a point. And this will teach everybody marksmanship. You can have a lot of fun. You could get a dot sight on here if you want. You can buy adapters that can work with a weaver type mount that's usually under dot sights. So the weaver would attach to this, and what they give you for $10 is they give you a set of 2 11 millimeter to Weaver adapter. It means 11 millimeter up here. And you clamp that on, and it turns it to Weaver, and then you take your dot sight, put it on. And that's kind of a fun sight. And if you're going to sight that in, same thing, 15 yards, put that dot right over a 1.5 inch dot, fire 10 shots, make sure most of the rounds are going in that area. Then take it out to 25 yards. And then if you have a dot sight, you can adjust the click values to bring the shots where you want them so that they'll fall exactly at 25 yards at the same spot. And given that you have some cheap pellets here, $4.99 for 500, your big worry is pretty much just paying for them CO2s. But other than that, if you sight this in as best you can at 25 yards and get all them shots falling in the right place, then you're going to be shooting the same pellet pretty much forever in this air rifle. So you could have little contests and stuff out in the yard with this air rifle, and you don't have to worry about shots once again, because if you've already pre-counted 50 shots, then nobody has to guess when the CO2 is out. All you have to do is go, hey, we're out of pellets. Okay, 50 shots. Let's count up another 50. And have another CO2 to go with it. So I'm just giving you some ideas. I'm just kind of rambling on here, but I'm just giving you some ideas of the way I've done it in the past. And like I said, once again, this would be a cool marksmanship trainer for somebody, because the trigger is a little more difficult. And if they can handle this trigger, they can handle, a real 10-22 or another rifle, if they get good with this one. Because this one, you have to stage it a little bit, and you have to pull the trigger further to the rear and stage it, and then let the shot go. So kind of like a surprise break. So it's a good training rifle that you could use. And I found that these Beeman hollow points here, I found that they fit very, very well in that ring magazine, better than the Crosman pellets. Now, somebody might ask, what about Crosman pellets? I would not use Crosman pellets in this because they're not as accurate. So you're going to get something like this, or even worse, with the Crosman pellets. And they don't fit in the ring magazine like they should. Some of the skirts are narrow, so you get a lot of blow-by. And the sizes and stuff are quite different from pellet to pellet. So I would use these. These are $4.99 for 500. They're even cheaper than the Crosman pellets. So you're saving 50%, and you're getting more accuracy, probably 50% more accuracy, and spending 50% less money on pellets. So if you throw it all together, let's say your CO2 tank is 50 cents and your pellets are $4.99. Well, that's $5.50 to get you started. And then depending on how many CO2s you buy, if you buy the big packs and stuff, you can save money. So what that means is it's a lot of cheap shooting. So it's not the most accurate rifle in the world, but you can have a lot of fun with this Crosman 1077. Another thing I want to show you is a tip for doing CO2s. When you do a CO2, obviously people say you can put silicone on the end of the CO2 tank. I don't use any motor oils or anything on there on the end of my CO2s. I just put like a little drop of silicone or something like that, and silicone oil is fine. But another thing I do is when I'm turning the screw here, I put up to my ear right here, I put the stock up to my ear. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I put the stock up to my ear as I'm turning, and whenever I hear that first hiss, then I turn this approximately a half a turn. One of the problems people have with CO2 rifles is they turn the screw too much because they don't know where to stop. So it's important that you put your ear here and listen for that shh, and then turn it approximately 1/2 turn, or find out exactly how far you have to turn it to get it to work for you. So I found that that I get all the CO2 and stuff like that if I crank it another half turn, so it works out good for me. And when I pull out the CO2, I could see that it was punctured all the way. So if anything, you want to under puncture it than over puncture it, because if you keep turning this, if you get in a habit of really tightening that down, what you're doing is you're crushing the seal in there. So that's one of the reasons why I say put your ear up to it right here, wait for the hiss, then turn it just a little bit. Because if you can't hear it, you're going to keep turning it wondering when it's going to hiss. And by that time, you would have turned the screw as far as it could go, having no more left to turn, and that's bad. So you don't want that. All right, so thanks for watching the video. I thought I'd share this information with you because you're going to save a lot of money doing it this way. And I kind of took the hard work out of it for you guys testing pellets, so you don't have to test pellets. Just start off with these cheaper ones. I always start off with the cheaper pellets first and then work my way up. So that way the cost is lower when you're starting. So you want to save money too at the same time. Not only do you want accuracy, but you want to save money. Whereas something like this, $14.99 for 500, there's a lot of spending going on here to do them shots. So you don't want that. So you want something more like that. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, you guys.